Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you guys joining me, a bunch of friends standing around talking about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, a little bit of television, a few other things here and there. Listen, guys, we got an absolutely packed show today. A lot of stuff to talk about. I'm going to talk about Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindlewald. Had a chance to see that. We're going to talk a little bit about The Grinch. We're going to talk about this runtime for the Avengers. Tom Cruise is losing his mind. All that kind of stuff. But we're going to start off the top with this. Now, we all know that, a little while ago, they dropped a bomb on everybody and said, there's a Deadpool movie coming out. We now know it's called Once Upon a Deadpool. And the little tagline is 12 Nights of Deadpool, because it's going to start on December 12th and run through December 24th. The 12 Nights of Deadpool. And it's basically a PG-13 cut of Deadpool 2, but kind of reworked in a Princess Bride kind of motif, where they're going to use scenes between Deadpool and Fred Savage from Princess Bride in framing shots and setup shots. So they're going to go to the movie, go back to Deadpool and Fred Savage, go to the movie, go back to Deadpool and Fred Savage. It's a marvelous idea. $1 for every ticket going to Fuck Cancer, the charity. But of course, for the PG-13 cut, they're calling it Fudge Cancer. It's a great idea. Anyway, we've known all that for a little bit now. But this morning, I came across the first official poster for Once Upon a Deadpool. Here it is. Take a look at it. It's Deadpool and Fred Savage riding on Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It's absolutely perfect. I'll tell you what, guys, I love this poster. I think it's amazing. The fact they're on top of a mountain, the whole guy. I love that he's got Fred Savage on the reindeer with them. I think this is great. I chuckled for about 3 minutes when I saw this thing. I really did. I just thought it looked fantastic. Now, here's one of the interesting things. This poster got revealed on their Instagram account, is where they revealed it. They revealed it on their Instagram account. And the tagline on the Instagram account is, on December 12th, no Fs will be given. No Fs. They didn't say no fucks will be given. It says no Fs will be given. And of course, that's a cute little play on the fact that Deadpool, Once Upon a Deadpool, is going to be a PG-13 cut. So no Fs will be given. Get it? Double meaning. Love it. Look, to me, this is such a fantastic idea on a number of levels. Number one, the charity aspect. Number two, I think Deadpool's the only kind of movie that you could do something like this in the first place. And I'll tell you what, man, I'm super excited about it. I can't wait to see it. This poster for me just adds to the excitement level of it. So, yeah, what do you guys think about this poster? I think the poster's great, but what do you guys think about it? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, with that out of the way, let's talk about this. Last night, I had a chance to go to the IMAX headquarters and go to a special screening of Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindlewald. Now, should be said, I am not the world's biggest Harry Potter fan. I'm not. I like the movies. I enjoy them. I like Harry Potter, but I'm not a Potterhead. You know what I mean? So I'm not like intricately connected to that world like, say, I am to Star Wars or something like that, right? So I'm not the most knowledgeable guy in the world about Harry Potter. I've seen all the movies, never read any of the books. And I liked Fantastic Beasts, the first one, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. I liked the movie. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. I thought the trailers for this new one looked pretty good, though. I've been excited to see it. So last night, went off to go see it. And I'll tell you what, I know it's getting some mixed reviews from some critics. Last time I checked, it's holding about a 60% on Rotten Tomatoes, which means the majority of the critics like it, but there's a bunch of them that don't. That's fine. I'm going to tell you what, I really liked this movie. I did. I'm not going to say it's my favorite Potter film, Potter universe film of all time, but I will say this, it's been a while since I've enjoyed a Harry Potter movie like this. And it was a very different kind of Harry Potter universe movie. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them was obviously a very different kind of movie, but it felt very much like a Harry Potter movie. You know, obviously a different story, different characters, but it felt very much like a Harry Potter movie, and that's not a bad thing. Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindlewald is far darker than I think any Harry Potter movie has been. This is a dark film. It's a heavy film. And oh my God, I'm going to tell you this. You know how they started this campaign with like keep the secret. Don't reveal the secret. They're begging people not to reveal big spoilers. I know now. I know why now. Now I know why. And it completely justified. Because remember, we were talking about when they started that whole campaign of keep the secret, we thought, okay, so is there a real big thing that happens in the movie? Or is it just a publicity stunt, a PR gimmick to get people talking about it? It's not a publicity stunt. There is a major, major event in the movie. And so just as they were saying, keep the secret because there's big secrets there, they weren't lying. They weren't lying. There is. And I enjoyed it. It's heavy. It's dark. It's all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that I enjoyed most about it, and what I was looking forward to most about this movie, was the whole dynamic, the Grindelwald-Dumbledore dynamic. Now, don't get me wrong. Newt Scamander is the main character of the film. And the lion's share of this movie is spent with him. But at center stage in this movie was Dumbledore and Grindelwald and the dynamic of their relationship. And it's almost a mystery. They treat the nature of their relationship and their connection like a mystery through the film that slowly starts to get revealed. And I'll tell you what, I found it to be a fascinating journey. I really did. And Grindelwald, look, he don't look as scary as Voldemort, but I'll put him up there with as terrifying a villain as Voldemort in the Harry Potter universe. I got to tell you guys, I liked it. Now, one of the things you should be made aware of, the first Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them had a lot of levity and a lot of humor. You had some comedic side characters and things like that. There is a lot less of that in this movie. And, I went to go see the movie with my buddy Cody last night, and we came out and Cody was like, man, I kind of wish they still had some of that comedic side character stuff that went on in the first one. And I said, you know what? I like the comedic side character stuff in the first one. But now that I reflect on the tone of this movie, I almost feel like that abundance of comedic levity that we had in the first one, it would have felt out of place. It would have felt out of place to me. It really would have. So it was deep. It was dark. It goes heavy into Potter lore, a lot of that kind of stuff, some new revelations, all that kind of stuff. Now, one of the questions that a lot of people are going to be asking is, okay, great, but there was a lot of controversy around the casting of Johnny Depp. How did Johnny Depp do in the movie? And I'm going to tell you what, Depp might have been my favorite thing about this movie. He was. Johnny Depp crushed this role. Now, whether you're somebody who ends up liking Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald or not, I think you're going to agree, once you see it, Johnny Depp kills it. He really does. He makes this character, number one, terrifying, but at the same time plays him in such a way that you could understand why there are other members of the wizarding world rallying to him. He's terrifying, yet he's charismatic, and they play it in such a way that it just works from a narrative point of view. And again, to me, he was my favorite part of the movie. I enjoyed him immensely. And of course, Newt was great, and Tina was great, and Dumbledore is great, and all that kind of stuff too. But to me, the standout of the film was Johnny Depp as Grindelwald. If he didn't work, this film doesn't work, because of the nature and the tone of the film that they went by. And by the way, Ezra Miller's really solid in this movie too. Ezra Miller is really damn solid in this movie too. So look, is this the best Harry Potter universe movie ever made? No, it's not. But is it a really good film? I enjoyed it immensely. I really did. Now understand, once again, take that with the half grain of salt that I'm not a Potterhead. I'm not a Potterhead. So maybe a Potterhead will look at this movie and have a different experience. I don't know. But just as a general film-going fan, I really appreciated what they did in this film. I felt it could have been a little bit shorter. There is a gratuitous action sequence that did not need to be in the movie. There's a scene, and I won't give away what the scene is, but there's a scene in the movie, and I remember me and Cody were talking about when we were driving home, that felt like, The Last Jedi with that Canto Bight scene where the horses get out and they start running? That whole action sequence had no bearing on the narrative of the movie. It didn't need to be there. There is an action sequence in this movie as well that's kind of like that, and that probably should have been taken out. A few other little nitpicks here and there, but overall, look, as a non-Harry Potter fanatic, I got to tell you, I like this movie, and I think you will too. Give it a shot when you do, and once you do, let me know what you think about it. I thought it was pretty damn solid. I had a good time with it. All right, moving on to the next thing here. Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald was not the only movie I saw last night. I did a double feature last night, so I went and saw that first, and then I raced over to go watch a movie I hadn't seen yet, the brand new incarnation of Grinch, just called The Grinch. Of course, this time around, Benedict Cumberbatch is doing the voice of the Grinch. I'm going to tell you right up front, I have not liked the trailers all that much. I did not think this movie looked all that good. I wasn't really all that sure this is a movie that even should have been made in the first place. All that kind of stuff. Was not thrilled to see this movie. I was not super looking forward to this movie by any stretch of the imagination. That being said, I thought this movie was damn cute. I did. I thought it was really, really cute. They do some strange things in the movie. Like, for instance, one of the things I don't like about this movie, and it kind of felt weird at first, was, like, it's a Grinch movie. It's a Grinch Who Stole Christmas kind of movie. And yet one of the main themes is a working single mother, the struggles of a working single mother. I'm like, that feels so out of place with a Grinch movie. But to be fair, as the movie progressed, that whole storyline of the single working mother struggling with 3 kids and all that, it became charming. And it actually all led up to a scene near the end of the movie that was really emotional. And I actually got a little weepy in the eyes. I didn't cry, but I could feel my eyes starting to water a little bit. And so it actually paid off, and it had purpose and narrative at the end. And look, I'll tell you what, one of the things I loved about this movie was the relationship between Max the dog and Grinch. It's actually a really good relationship. Now, I'm a dog guy. I've owned dogs my whole life. I have 2 dachshunds right now that are downstairs as we speak. So I'm totally a dog guy. I'm a sucker for dogs in movies, particularly when they're portrayed as really cute and everything like that. So granted, take that with a grain of salt. But I really thought that the heart of the movie was that relationship between Grinch and Max. And it was great. And I loved it. And the fat reindeer that we see in the trailers, totally charming. Totally works. Whoville and all the different kind of stuff they introduced there. That's a little bit of a deviation from the traditional Grinch movie that we know and love, while throwing in enough familiar elements of the Grinch Who Stole Christmas that we would know and recognize. He carved the roast beast. You know, they throw a lot of that in there too, so it feels very familiar, but they do a lot of different stuff too to make it feel fresh and kind of new. Is this Grinch movie a great movie? No. It's not great. A lot of the humor and jokes that we saw in the trailer that fell flat for me fell flat also in the movie. However, thankfully, a lot of the funniest and most charming parts of this movie are not in any of the trailers. And that's refreshing, because normally these types of movies, they will show their funniest and most entertaining parts in the trailers. And I understand why. The Grinch does the total opposite. I thought their lamest jokes were in the trailers. And they are lame in the movie, and there's a bunch of them. But some of the humor worked really well. And there's a lot of charm and some teary-eyed moments at the end. And you know what? I was not buying in from the trailers to the Benedict Cumberbatch voice as the Grinch. It just didn't fit the Grinch to me. His voice just didn't fit the Grinch for me in the trailers. But to be fair, about 10 minutes into the film, I was over that. 10 minutes into the film, I was, oh yeah, this is the voice of the Grinch now. And it didn't distract me from the movie whatsoever. So, look, is this the best incarnation of the Grinch we've ever seen? No. I still prefer the Jim Carrey incarnation of the Grinch over this. Is this a great movie? No. Am I going to say you should rush out to go see the Grinch? No. But I also will say this. It was better than I thought it would be. It had a lot more charm to it than I thought it would. There were definitely more laughs than the trailer made me think there were going to be. And overall, it's a good, enjoyable Christmas season kind of movie that is totally safe to take your kids to. And I think you're going to have a good time. You know, you're not going to have an Avengers Infinity War kind of time, but I think you're going to have a good time if you give The Grinch a shot. So, yeah, I recommend going out and giving it a chance and see what you guys think. Have you seen it already? If so, what did you think about The Grinch? Jump down to the comments section and let me know your thoughts. All right. With that out of the way, let's move on to the first email today. And the first email today comes to us from Calvin Monroe, who writes, At what point does someone have to sit down with Tom Cruise and just tell him enough is enough? We get it. You're insane, doing so many of your own big stunts. But this new thing about them delaying Top Gun 2 so Tom could learn to fly his own fighter jet in the movie? Seriously? How crazy is this guy? All right, so here's what Calvin is talking about. You guys will remember that a little while ago it got announced that Top Gun 2 actually pushed its release date almost a year. So it's not coming out till 2020 now. So that's old news. We know that now. But now we're starting to hear about something that may have caused that. Now, we all know that Tom Cruise is a maniac. He loves doing his own stunts, hanging off the side of an airplane, taking off, doing his own halo, jumping out of planes, jumping across buildings, or injuring himself, all that kind of stuff. This takes it to a new level. There are new reports coming out that are suggesting one of the reasons they had to delay the film because Tom Cruise wants to learn how to fly a fighter jet himself so that it can actually be him flying the fighter jets in a bunch of the scenes in Top Gun 2. He actually wants to get up there and learn how to fly these fighter jets so it can be him flying the fighter jets for a bunch of the scenes in Top Gun 2, and he needed time to do it, and that's one of the reasons why they pushed it off. Now, the reports going around talking about it, they clarify this. They're saying he won't film all the flight sequences, it's too dangerous, but he will fly some, making him the first actor in cinema history to do so. The producers would prefer not to put their leading man, not to mention their entire film, at risk. They also wouldn't choose to have their long-awaited sequel delayed nearly a year. But despite the huge insurance costs, they are willing to do what it takes to ensure that Tom is happy. And Tom right now is kind of starting to solidify this legacy that he's a little bit of Hollywood's version of Jackie Chan, like doing all these ridiculous, crazy things himself. So look, we all know about how in the last Mission Impossible film, he learned how to fly a helicopter. I do have to wonder, though, is flying a fighter jet all that more complicated than flying a helicopter? Now, I'm not talking about actually piloting in a dogfight. I just mean flying a fighter jet. Is it all that much more complicated than flying a helicopter? He figured out the helicopter thing. Can he be cool just to sit behind the wheel of a fighter jet and do some moves and things like that? I don't know, maybe. And look, I might be completely talking out of my ass here because I've never flown anything. I have no idea. I've flown a drone once. That's a totally different experience. So I have no idea. Maybe it's a night and day different experience. But it does go towards this whole thing that Tom Cruise is developing this legacy of this madman who will do whatever it takes to make his movies and specifically his action sequences feel as legitimate and as real as possible. And you know what? This whole thing about him flying a fighter jet, that still, to me, doesn't touch him hanging off the side of a jumbo carrier plane taking off and flying up into the air. This still doesn't touch that. Or the whole zero gravity stuff that they did for The Mummy is crazy. Go on YouTube and look up some online stuff on that because that's crazy stuff. So I'm not surprised he's doing it. I don't know if it's the smartest thing in the world, but I'm not surprised he's doing it at all. All right. With that out of the way, let's move on to email number 2. And the second email today comes to us from Tom Cruise. No, it comes to us from Harris Metal, who writes, "Hey, John, I saw that Disney announced another live-action show, and it's going to be about Cassian Andor before the events of Rogue One. I think Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars movie of all time, and I like the Cassian character a lot. Do you think an early rebellion story is a good idea, or should they have gone in another direction?" All right, thanks a lot for the question, Harris. And for those of you who don't know, what he's talking about is Bob Iger, the High Lord and Emperor of all things Disney, did an investor call, and he clarified and confirmed a couple of things. One of the things was he confirmed that Loki TV series, but we knew that was coming. He confirmed that what we've all known already, that the name of the Disney streaming service is going to be Disney Plus, but we've actually known that for a while, but he just kind of confirmed it. But one of the other things that was a real revelation was that it's not just The Mandalorian that Jon Favreau is working on. that's going to be a live action Star Wars TV show. They're also working on an early Rebellion show that's going to focus on Diego Luna's character, Cassian Andor, from Rogue One. Interesting. Here's specifically what they had to say about this whole development. This is from Diego himself talking about going back to do this new show. Going back to the Star Wars universe is very special for me. I have so many memories of the great work we did together and the relationships I made throughout the journey. We have a fantastic adventure ahead of us, and this new exciting format will give us a chance to explore this character more deeply. So there you have it. It's official. We've heard from Bob Iger. We've heard from Diego Luna himself. They are doing this live action show based on that. How do I feel about this? Well, I'll say this. On the one hand, I am constantly belly aching about the fact that Star Wars doesn't expand their universe enough. That Star Wars too often goes back to the familiar. That Star Wars doesn't do enough things to go out there and expand the universe. That's always been one of my complaints. So on its surface, you would think that I wouldn't be enthusiastic about a Cassian Andor show talking about the early formation of the rebellion. When in actuality, I actually kind of like the idea, and here's why. Are we going back and doing stuff with a character we already know? Yes. But at least it's one of the new characters. At least it's not a young Yoda movie. At least it's not a young Jabba the Hutt show. At least it's not Boba Fett. At least it's not this, that, or the other thing. At least it's one of the new characters they're doing it with. So that's one advantage. But also this whole thing about really exploring in a gritty kind of way the formation of the rebellion. Make it a Band of Brothers kind of show. Make it a war-themed kind of show, much like Rogue One was a war movie. If you can take that kind of spirit that Rogue One was done as a movie and bring that into a TV show for Disney Plus, call me crazy, but I think you got the potential for something very cool and something that actually can expand the Star Wars universe. And the Cassian character I thought was fascinating. They did more depth with that character than a lot of the other characters. Like, number one, you see that this is a guy, and this is one of the things I loved about him in Rogue One, who has done things he's not happy about. And not just in his past, he continues to do things that he doesn't like. Like that one scene in Rogue One where he killed his own informant just to save his own skin, to make sure this informant doesn't squeal to the Imperials. He murdered his own informant. And you could tell he hates himself for it. And as this movie progressed, you learn more and more that he has done a lot of dark things for the sake of the greater good. At least that's what he tells himself. He's a hero who at times does not act all that heroically, and he struggles with that. To me, that's not my favorite character, but it makes it a fascinating character to see on screen. And a type of character that, even though I'm the world's biggest Star Wars fan, I will admit that is the type of character we've kind of usually been in short supply of in the Star Wars universe. You know what I'm saying? So the notion of taking a character that fascinating with an actor this good and going into a realm that in a live action way we've never really explored before. Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm more enthusiastic for this than I am for the potential of an Obi-Wan movie. What? Yeah, I'll say it again. I am more enthusiastic for this than I am about the notion for an Obi-Wan movie. And I'm okay with an Obi-Wan movie. But I'm certainly more okay with this than I was for the notion of a Boba Fett movie when that was still a possibility. I'm certainly more enthusiastic about this than I was for a Han Solo movie that nobody asked for, even though I ended up really liking the movie. But still, I am more enthusiastic for this than a lot of the potential Star Wars stuff that they've been talking about. I think it's got some great upside. I think it's got some great potential. I think it's got some elements to it that we've never really touched on before, with a fascinating character at its core. And if you can do this show in the same kind of tone that you did Rogue One, it could be something very special. Or it could be a gigantic, huge waste. We won't know until we see it, but there you have it. All right, let's move on now to the third email of the day. And the third email today comes to us from Vivian Gonzalez, who writes, keeping it filthy. Yes, we are. Did you hear that Avengers 4 is going to be 3 hours long? That's more than a half hour longer than the next longest MCU film. I'm not complaining, but do you think, or what do you think is the difference here? Did the Russo brothers just forget how to edit? Does it really need to be that long? All right, thanks a lot for the question, Vivian. And for those of you who are wondering what Vivian's talking about, Joe Russo, one of the Russo brothers who's directed, Captain America Civil War, they directed Avengers Infinity War and other things. So they're directing Avengers 4. He talked recently and kind of revealed that right now, the current status of Avengers 4 is that right now it's about a 3-hour movie. He said right now it's sitting at about 3 hours. Now, to be specific, here's what Joe Russo had to say. Joe Russo said the following. He said, the running time on Avengers 4 is currently sitting right at 3 hours. We'll see if that holds. We're about halfway through the editing process. We're really just scratching the surface on all of our VFX shots, Russo continued. There are more than 3,000 visual effects shots in this movie. That's insane. In this movie, those require a lot of time and thought and energy and effort, and we're very early in that phase getting the visual effects done. We've just started work with Alan Silvestri on the score, and we're still editing the picture at this point. So, remember, I had some people saying to me, oh my gosh, John, are they even going to have this movie ready in time? Remember, the movie still doesn't come out for 6 months. They got plenty of time. And notice when he says, we're just halfway through the editing process and really just scratching the surface on all of our VFX shots. They're not just starting their visual effects. They've been working on the visual effects forever. They've been working on the visual effects before they even started shooting the movie. But now taking those visual effects, fine-tuning them, getting them edited into the movie. I think that's really what he's talking about at this point. They're just getting the score ready. Remember, we're still 6 months away from the movie. But this is what it comes to, though. Is Avengers Infinity War actually going to end up being a 3-hour movie? No, it's not. It's not. And I think what you're seeing with a lot of people, like yourself, Vivian, because it's probably what you read, like, Avengers 4 is going to be 3 hours long? What? No, it's not going to be 3 hours long. Right now, it's sitting at about 3 hours long. And to be honest with you, that's not unusual. That's not unusual. Certainly not every film at one point in its editing process is at 3 hours. No, but it's not unusual for a bunch of films that even end up being 2 hours long. At some point in their editing process, they'll probably sit at a version that's about 3 hours long or more. This is not unusual. And Joe says, we're only halfway through editing, really. So there's probably going to be a lot more stuff that comes out. And if you listen to the commentary tracks on Avengers Infinity War, Joe and Anthony Russo, they've got a good sense. They have a very strong understanding that pace of a movie matters. And you've got to cut out stuff that isn't absolutely necessary to your story for the sake of improving the pace of the film. They understood that. So, no, I don't believe for 1 second this movie's going to end up being 3 hours long. However, I believe the longest MCU movie right now is Avengers Infinity War, I think, at about 2 hours and 29 minutes. So nearly 2.5 hours. Just a hair under 2.5 hours, if I'm not mistaken. I do believe it's possible Avengers 4 could exceed that 2:29. I do believe that. I don't believe this movie's going to come in at 2 hours and 5 minutes. All right? I don't believe this is going to be a shorter film than that. I don't believe it's going to be shorter than Avengers 3. I just don't think it's going to get to that 3-hour mark. All right? It's just not going to be there. If I had to guess right now, I'm going to guess that this movie is probably going to clock in somewhere around, 165 minutes or like 2 hours and 45 minutes. I think it's probably going to clock in around 2 hours and 45 minutes. That's where I'm guessing it's going to be. And believe me, 15 minutes is a long time on a movie. So I think it's going to come a good 15 full minutes short of what people are talking about right now. So, yeah, that's the way I kind of see it. I understand why you're asking that, Vivian, because there are a lot of reports saying it's going to be 3 hours long. No, that's not what he said. It's not that it's going to be 3 hours long. It's that currently the way it sits, it's 3 hours, but they're still in the editing process. I'm guessing 2 hours, 45 minutes. That's my guess. What do you guys think? What length do you think Avengers 4 is going to chime in at? Jump down to the comments section and let me know your thoughts. All right, let's move on now to the fourth question of the day. And the fourth question today comes to us from Tristan Jones, who writes, "Hey, John, huge fan of the show." Thank you so much, Tristan. "So the buzz and the news around Captain Marvel has died down quite a bit. Are there any more details on that movie?" All right, thanks a lot for the question, Tristan. And yeah, you're right. There has been very little buzz or talk or chatter or news about Captain Marvel ever since, the first trailer dropped a number of weeks ago. Since that time, we really haven't heard anything about it. I think that's for a couple of reasons. Number one, we are in a window of time when there should not be any news or details about the movie. There shouldn't be. We shouldn't be hearing anything right now. The movie shot, so we're not going to hear about new casts being added. Any news that gets announced right now would be nothing but bad news. It would mean something's gone wrong. Right? If everything's going right, we shouldn't hear anything. If everything is going according to plan, we should not hear anything. If you read a headline right now that says Captain Marvel, it's probably bad news. It's probably something negative. And we've been talking about that a little bit recently, about how there is this window of time where really you don't want to hear anything new. There's a window of time in a movie's development as a movie's getting ready to come out that you don't want there to be any new news. That you don't want to hear about some drama going on set or some drama going on in the editing room or yada, yada, yada. There's just simply a period of time when you don't want to hear any of that stuff. And right now is that time for Captain Marvel. Right now is that time. So that's the first reason why I don't think you're hearing any buzz right now about it, any news, nothing like that. So news creates buzz. There's no new news. There's no new clips. There's no new anything like that right now. Then the movie's still a number of months away. So that's all fine and dandy. I think it also might be fair to say that another reason that you're not hearing a lot about that right now is the fact that while the Captain Marvel trailer, I believe, was quite good for a first trailer, it didn't blow people's socks off. I liked the trailer. I thought it was good for a first trailer. I thought it did exactly what a first trailer should do. But it wasn't the type of trailer that's going to get everybody going, wow, and losing their minds and going crazy, right? And so it was a good trailer. It played. People talked about it for a few days and a week. But then other new trailers came out and new movies came out and other news came out about other projects and blah, blah, blah. And our attention got away from Captain Marvel. That's normal. That's fine. But I think the fact that we're not even hearing anybody really mention it anymore kind of is a testament to the fact that it didn't really blow anybody away. Now, to me, that's fine. The first trailer doesn't need to blow people away. Your second trailer should. Your second trailer should. But a first trailer doesn't really need to blow people's socks off. But, and it didn't. It didn't blow people's socks off. Some people didn't even like the trailer. A lot of us did, but even us that liked it didn't blow our socks off. So there's nothing to really keep talking about Captain America or Captain Marvel over because, we already talked about the trailer and it's not like it blew our minds away. There hasn't been any new clips or scenes or news, and that's good right now. So there's really nothing additional to talk about. So no, I don't think you're crazy. There hasn't been a lot of buzz about Captain Marvel in the past number of weeks, and I think there's a couple of reasons about why that's the case. To me, it also plays towards the fact that I've been saying for a long time, studios should shorten the windows between when they release their first movie or their first trailer compared to when the movie comes out. I still believe 6 months is too early. I really do. 6 months is far more reasonable than what movies were doing a little while ago, which is like putting out a trailer a year in advance. It's like that served no purpose. Putting trailers out 11 months in advance serves no purpose whatsoever. And I'm glad we're getting down into, now it's about 6 months when these. I'm glad that that's happening, but I'm still even thinking 6 months is too soon. Because all that pop, all the buzz, all the talk that got generated by Captain Marvel's first trailer is gone now. It's gone. It's gone. In the wind, gone. and will have no impact on the opening weekend box office. It was just, I still think 6 months is a little too soon. It's far more reasonable than the way they used to do it, but I still kind of think it's too soon. So what do you guys think about the lack of buzz of Captain Marvel? Or are you hearing different things? Maybe in your Twitter sphere, you're hearing people talk about Captain Marvel all the time. Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, let's move on now to the final email of the day. And the final email today comes to us from Jacob Beals, who writes, "Love the show and your insight on movies in general." Well, thank you so much, Jacob. Been watching for a long time. The other day, I revisited the 21 Jump Street films and was reminded of how great they are. It got me thinking, where in the world is 23 Jump Street? I can't be the only one who wants that to happen, right? All right, thanks a lot for the email, man. And yes, I'm telling you what, I am with you. 21 Jump Street, the first one, was one of those films, and this has happened to me 4 or 5 times in the past 6 or 7 years, and I love it when this happens. But 21 Jump Street is one of those films, like the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie, that I said going into it, this is a stupid idea. This is a bad idea. This is going to be awful. This is desperate. There's not going to be any entertainment value to it. It's going to be like just preteen schlock humor. It's going to be garbage. Well, this is why when you go see a movie, you take your expectations, and it's fine to have positive or negative expectations. But when you go see a movie, you got to take those expectations and leave them at the door. Go in, watch the movie, and judge it on its own merits. I did that for 21 Jump Street, and I fell in love with that movie. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. And maybe only topped for me by 22 Jump Street. Because, they did a sequel. I'm like, oh, I don't know if you can recapture that magic of the first one. And they went in and they totally did. They crushed it. 21 and 22 Jump Streets are some of my favorite comedies of the past 10 years. I absolutely adore them. They entertain me to no end. I laugh a whole hell of a lot whenever I watch it. All that kind of stuff. So I am with you. I am a big Jump Street fan. Question then. Where's 23 Jump Street? Well, I think there are a couple things at play there. I don't think anybody knows definitively why we haven't gotten any movement or talk about a 23 Jump Street. I believe there are a couple of elements that come into play, though. Number one, I don't know that Jonah Hill wants to do another one. To be honest, from different things I've heard him say, he's never come out specifically and said, I don't want to do it. But I've read some interviews with him where the Jump Street franchise comes up, and he speaks very diplomatically, but I've always gotten the sense he doesn't really want to go back and do another one. I don't know that for sure. I could be dead wrong about that. I'm just telling you what I've kind of felt. The second thing is, remember, they tried. Sony was trying to do a mashup film, a team-up film of Jump Street and Men in Black, remember? And they were actually in the process of trying to put that whole thing together. At one point, Sony thought it's happening. Sony thought, yeah, we're doing this. And they were going to do this Jump Street Men in Black mashup. And I'll tell you what, I am unapologetic about this. I still think that could have worked. It's a ludicrous idea, but no more ludicrous than a 21 Jump Street movie. And I actually thought there was potential there that it could have been pretty fun. But that didn't happen then, right? So that kind of fell apart. So now you're just left with doing 23 Jump Street. I think the other element that might be playing against it is this. And I want to be careful here because I counted out the 21 Jump Street franchise twice, and twice I love the movies. So I want to be careful when I say this, but I do think this could be part of it. Part of the charm of the 21 Jump Street movies, 21 and 22, is there's a shtick to it, right? And remember, I'm always telling you guys, shtick is not in and of itself a dirty word. Shtick is not a bad word. Shtick can be great. 21 and 22 Jump Streets are great examples of that. The drawback, though, is at some point, shtick begins to get tired. At some point, a shtick, no matter how good it is, will start to wear thin. We saw that happen with the Hangover series, right? That whole shtick got tired really fast. After the first movie, it just didn't work again. And they did 2 sequels and neither of them worked. Now, the shtick of 21 Jump Street, it stretched into 22 and they made it work in there too. But I can't help but wonder if you try to stretch that out now into 3 films, if it's going to start feeling thin and worn and used and tired. I'm not saying it will, because I've counted out the 21 Jump Street films already too many times and I've been proven wrong both times. But I think that might be part of it. So again, a couple of things. Number 1, I'm not so convinced that Jonah Hill wants to do another one. Number 2, they were trying to get something going, fell apart. Who knows where they're at now? Number 3, I can't help but wonder if they think a straight up another 21 Jump Street movie in the form of 23 Jump Street, if it might be risking wearing the shtick out to the point that it's not funny anymore. I don't know. I will say this though. If they announced a 23 Jump Street, I'm going to be excited. I'll be worried a little bit, and I'll be a little bit cautious going into it, being wary of the whole shtick thing, yes. But if they announce tomorrow that there was a 23 Jump Street movie coming out, I'm buying my tickets as soon as they're available. So how will that all turn out? Don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. What do you guys think about the 21 Jump Street films? Jump down to the comments section and let me know what you think. And would you be up for a 23 Jump Street movie? Let me know. Okay, guys, with all that stuff out of the way now, let's save a little bit of time and go and take some live questions. You guys have been firing in a whole ton of live questions, so let's jump over to the live chat board right now and see what we've got. And the first live question comes to us from Donaldo Martinez, who writes, "Forgive me if this is a dumb question, but if a movie flops, do actors get paid less than what was agreed upon?" It's not a dumb question, Donaldo. I'm glad you asked. The answer to that question is no. They do not get paid less. This is part of the reason. Like if an actor agreed to be in a movie for $5 million and the movie makes $5, it doesn't matter. That actor still got paid his $5 million. The actor gets paid before the movie even comes out. And that dynamic is part of the reason why I'm not a big fan. There's some people say, hey, a movie was a big hit. You should give the actor more money. I'm not for that. I'm not. I am not for that unless an actor makes less money if the movie flops. But no, the acting union is never going to agree to that. Understandably, I would never agree to it either. But unless somebody is going to lose money if something goes wrong, I don't think they should stand to gain money if it goes well. I'm sorry, I don't believe in that. I don't believe you should stand to gain reward if something works really well, unless you also stand to lose money if it doesn't go well. If you're not accepting risk, I don't think you should accept reward. So that's why I have no problems with actors who say, hey, I'm going to take a $500,000 base salary, and then I agree to take half of 1% or 1% of the movie's box office gross. I have no problem with that because now, other than the $500,000, now the actor is actually assuming some of the risk. Now the actor is assuming part of that risk. If the movie flops, they're going to make much less money than what they were hoping to make. But they stand to gain if the movie's a huge mega hit, makes $500 million worldwide. Now they're going to gain a bunch. I'm just maybe it's old-fashioned to me. I just believe if you're not willing to assume any of the risk, you shouldn't stand to gain any of the reward. So, yeah, anyway, that's how. So, no, Donaldo, if a movie flops, an actor does not get paid less. They get paid what they were agreed to pay, whether the movie makes. And that's rightfully so because, look, an actor's job is not to market the movie. An actor's job is to come in and play a role and play it to the best of their ability. That's what their job is. And if they come in and do their job, they should get paid. It's not up to them to run the marketing department. It's not up to them to make the trailers. It's not up to them to decide how they're going to market this movie to the audience. They're not the ones responsible for that. They're not even the ones responsible for making the movie a good movie. It's not their fault if it's a terrible script. It's not the actor's fault if it's a terrible director. No, an actor gets paid to come in and do their job. And if they come in and do their job, they should just get paid regardless if the movie's a big hit or a flop. So that's the way it works, Donaldo, for the most part. All right. Mike Oxlong just sends in a super chat. Thank you so much, Mike. Sam Neal writes, was hoping that Daredevil would go back to his red suit at the end of the season. Do you think he will go back to it in season 4? I hope not. I hope not. I disagree with you on that, Sam, but I know a lot of people will agree with you too. To me, the black outfit is just more in line with the character in the show. I just think it suits him better. I do. Now, there are some practical advantages to the costume, and the red costume does look great. I just always kind of felt that the black outfit is more consistent with who he is as a character. So, I hope they don't go back to the red suit, but you're asking me, do I think they will? And yes, I do think they will. It's their image. They're going to go back to the red suit, I do believe, but I kind of hope that they don't, to be honest with you. All right. Mike's Oxlong writes, what is your favorite music biopic? I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I mean, Walk the Line is fantastic. Coal Miner's Daughter is fantastic. Straight Outta Compton was fantastic. Ooh, there's a bunch of great ones, but I'd have to say, I'm sure I'm forgetting about 5 other great ones that I love, and I'm just not thinking of them off the top of my head. So I'd have to think of, but those are some of the ones that I really like, Mike. Curtis Lopez writes, the official title for the Disney streaming service is Disney Plus, and the Loki series is confirmed. Yep, both of which we already knew. I mean, we knew the Loki series was coming. That wasn't really in question. We knew for a while that it was going to be called Disney Plus, so that really wasn't in question. But it is always nice when the big boss man comes out and confirms that stuff. So, yep, it's confirmed, but again, nothing really new. We kind of knew that stuff was coming anyway. Curtis Lopez writes, what is your Hogwarts house? I don't know. Anne could tell you hers in a heartbeat. I don't know. What are the houses? Because I know there's, what are the houses? There's Griffin something? Gryffindor? Yeah, Gryffindor. That's one. Slytherin is one. What is the one with the possum or something? Hufflepuff? Hufflepuff is one. Ravenclaw? Is that the name of the other one? Are there 4? Are there 5? I don't know. My Hogwarts house is probably the outhouse. That's probably where I'm hanging out most of the time. Honestly, I'm not enough of a Potterhead to have my own house to identify myself with one of the houses. Anne is totally into that, though. She could tell you in a heartbeat. Rami J. Royster writes, thought the girl in the spider's web was solid. Claire Foy was great, and I like how there was a backstory between her and the main villain. There are moments of what the fuck, however. I haven't seen it yet. I had to make a choice last night, because I was definitely going last night to see The Crimes of Grindelwald. So I only had time to see one other movie last night. And it was either going to be Girl in the Spider's Web, or it was going to be The Grinch. And I thought, you know what? More people are going to be going to see The Grinch, so I should probably go review that first. So I made the choice to go see that. But I'm looking forward to it because I love Claire Foy. I really like The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the last one. I don't know if this one measures up, but I'm curious to see it. So thanks for your thoughts, Rami. All right. Rami J. Royster also says, a 3-hour Avengers film is heaven for me. See, I think that's, nah. Look, there are great movies that, had they been stretched out to 3 hours, probably would have ruined the movie. Every movie has its own unique nature, its own unique DNA, its own unique thumbprint, and also its own unique perfect length, right? Every movie has its own unique perfect length. If a movie's really good, well, gosh, if they made it longer, it would have been even better if it was longer. No, that's not the way. We've seen that 1,000 times. It's been proven many, many, many times that just make it longer means it's just going to be that good, but for a longer period of time. No. A lot of great movies that are long are great because they are the perfect length for their particular movie. I've seen movies that are an hour and 20 minutes long that are the perfect length for them. I've seen a movie that's 3 hours long that was the perfect length for it. You know, so I do not believe, I don't subscribe at all to the notion that, well, I like Avengers, therefore make Avengers 4 hours long. No, because that could ruin it. That could make it a drawn out, badly paced, sloggy kind of movie that has bad pace to it. As opposed to when it was 2 hours and 15 minutes, It was great. It had perfect pace. It never felt like it dragged. It hit on all the notes. It was all killer, no filler. Perfect. Right? So, yeah, just because a movie's good, and a lot of film fans make this mistake. Just because a movie's good, you think if you make it longer, that just means more good. More good extra minutes. And nah, man, a movie should be its particular length. That's what a movie should be. I've seen movies that are 2 hours long that were way too long for the type of movie it was. I've seen movies that are 2 hours long that were too short for the type of movies that it was. So just to come out and say, oh, I hope this movie is that length. Nah, man, I want them to make the perfect length for however that movie needs it to be. You know what I mean? Whatever length this movie needs to have the right pacing, to never feel like it's dragging, but to never feel like it's rushing either. That's the length I want that movie to be. And every movie will have its own unit. Maybe the perfect length for Avengers 4 is an hour and a half. Maybe the perfect length for Avengers 4 is 3 hours and 20 minutes. But no, to me, the notion of a 3-hour Avengers movie, that doesn't excite me. Any more than an hour and a half idea of an Avengers movie excites me because I don't care. I mean, I won't know if that's the right length until we see it. So I just kind of come up from that point of view. That's just me. Pelican Mike writes, John, my staff job quote yesterday was J. Jonah. I can't remember what the staff quote was. Sorry about that, Pelican Mike. But for those of you who do remember it, now you know what he was talking about. Thanks for the follow-up, Pelican. Marv Diesel writes, watching Man of Steel again, Jor-El, by the way. Jor-El destroyed General Zod in hand-to-hand combat. Well, it was close, but he did beat him. Another great feature of that movie that gets overlooked, thanks to you. Oh, I love the conflict between Jor-El. Jor-El wasn't just some Poindexter. He wasn't just some Poindexter. He was a badass, too. Remember, the El family in the House of El and that thing was all about our houses. You don't need to be what you are designed to be. You can be anything, right? And so the fact that him, one of the greatest minds of Krypton, could also go in hand-to-hand with General Zod, I thought was great, and added to the whole understanding of the belief system in the L house at that point. So I really like that too. So thanks for bringing that up, man. Tucker Flynn writes, favorite pure comedy. I love Big Lebowski. Big Lebowski's great. My two all-time favorite comedies are 40-Year-Old Virgin. It is a perfect comedy. And Noise is Off with Christopher Reeve, John Ritter, Michael Caine, Carol Burnett. It is just one of the most purely enjoyable laugh-out-loud movies I've ever seen. Those have always been my two favorite comedies and probably always will be. Let's see. Hugh Janus writes, Will Avengers have, I think you probably put in an extra will Avengers have an end credit scene? Oh, I believe it will. Pardon me, I believe it will. I don't know that for certain. I don't know that that's a fact, but I can't see them not doing a post-credit scene. In one way, shape, or form or another. Whether they'll have two end credit scenes like they've done in a lot of other films or just one, I don't know. But I do suspect they'll have at least one. Let's see. Ant Banks, 1984 writes, shouldn't Thor be invincible if he's a god? Well, I mean, it all depends on your definition. You know, in that universe, in that world, a god isn't just an invincible being. It's something else. So it all depends on your definition of what a god is. Tucker Flynn writes, you a fan of Brooklyn Nine-Nine? I'm stoked it's on NBC. Nope, not a fan of it. And you know what's funny? I love the cast. I love Lonely Island. I love Andy Samberg. And so I was excited. I love Terry Crews. So I was really excited to check that show out when it came out. But to be honest with you, didn't work for me. I tried about 4 or 5 episodes, and it just did not work for me. I wish it did, but it didn't. So there you go. But I know a lot of people do like it. So I was happy for everybody when I heard that Brooklyn Nine-Nine got renewed and got picked up by a new network. Because I know a lot of my friends like the show. I know a lot of you guys like the show. So I was really happy for you when it got picked up. But I'm not going to be watching it because it never worked for me, unfortunately. James Welsh writes, who's better, John or Joan Cusack? Oh, they're both really good. I'm going to lean toward John Cusack. I'm a big John Cusack fan, but I like them both quite a bit. James Welsh follows up with, do you have a favorite Cusack sibling film? Yeah, I do. I like a lot of the stuff and everything, but there's a John and Joan Cusack film with Dan Aykroyd, and damn it, who's this girl? I was in love with her forever, and now I cannot remember her name. Hold on a second. Goodwill Hunting, IMDb. I can't believe I'm forgetting, because I had a crush on this girl for like a decade, like a full decade. Why am I freezing up on her name? And her name is... crap, Minnie Driver. There it is. So I believe Minnie Driver is in that as well. So John and Joan Cusack, Dan Aykroyd. It's called Grosse Pointe Blank. I love that film. That is easily my favorite Cusack sibling film. Okay, Kara Black writes, do you think we'll ever see Jyn Erso again? Not live action. I don't think we're going to see Jyn Erso again live action. I think it's certainly possible, and I believe they have done her in animated stuff already. There was what was that one little animated short series they did about the various female characters in Star Wars? I can't remember the name of it at this point. Didn't last long. So I believe there's a chance we can see Jyn Erso in animated form again at some point, but I don't think we're going to see her again in live action. And I could be wrong about that, but I don't think so. Murray Reich writes, when I saw The Frontrunner, I came 10 minutes late to the first showing at 11 a.m. at a regular theater, and the movie had already started with no trailers beforehand. Really? No trailers? Weird, man. The only time I'm in a movie that they don't show trailers is when it's either the premiere or a press screening. That's it. You know, it's funny. Me and Cody went to go see Crimes of Grindelwald, right? It was at 7 o'clock on like way west in Los Angeles. The Grinch started at 10. We knew we weren't going to be, even though we drove like bats out of hell, we knew we weren't going to get to the theater for 10 o'clock. We knew we were going to get there around 10:25, 10:30. But we knew because of the trailers, we'd still be in time. And sure enough, we only missed about 1 minute of the movie. We got there at about 10:30 and missed about a minute. And that was it, and we were good to go. But I've never had an experience where I've gone in and just no trailers played. So that's intriguing, man. You should ask the manager about that. Say, hey, do all your movies before noon not show trailers? Because I might come to more before noon movies if you're not showing trailers then. Ask him and find out. James Bonner writes, just saw First Man, and it was one of the most inspiring patriotic films I've seen in a long time. Any scene with more of a focus on the flag would have made zero difference, in my opinion. Dude, James, me and a buddy of mine yesterday had this conversation about First Man because my buddy hadn't seen it yet. And he said, so really, is it a big deal that because, you know, the whole controversy that they didn't show the flag planting scene? It's an idiotic controversy. Anyway. And my buddy was saying, was it really a big deal that, because I hadn't seen it yet, is it really noticeable? Like, was it bad that they didn't show that? And I'm like, no, because I've talked about this on the show before. Anybody who has seen First Man, because there's some, I'm going to reel it in a little bit. There are some individuals out there who try to make a stink out of the fact that they didn't have a scene showing them go, oh, you didn't put that in the movie. Oh, you're not patriotic. Oh, you hate America. Blah. You know, that's what they did. But then you see the movie, and as a Canadian, I had no problem with this. When you see the movie, that whole freaking movie, from start to finish, that entire movie is nothing but a 2+ hour rah-rah USA, rally. The whole movie is nothing but 2 hours of rah, rah, USA, USA, USA. The whole freaking thing is one big patriotic circle jerk. And I mean that in the best possible way. I do. But it's nothing but one huge patriotic circle jerk. Everything's about how great the USA is, and even showing like people from around the world going, we believe that the USA could lead us to the moon. Yeah, USA, and all this kind of, the whole thing is American flags and apple pie and Uncle Sam. The whole thing is one gigantic patriotic message. That's the whole movie. For anybody who has seen the movie, to say, because you didn't show this, the movie's not patriotic. It's idiotic. Absolutely idiotic. Now, if you haven't seen the movie and you hear that they didn't show, and you wonder, well, is that kind of some anti-American thing? Okay, I get why you'd wonder about that. Yeah, I get that. But if you've seen the movie, there is just no excuse for perpetuating this BS that there's something unpatriotic about the movie because they didn't show this. Oh, so you just want to ignore all the other 2 hours of stuff that was all USA, USA, USA. You want to ignore all that because they didn't do this? Stupid. It's absolutely stupid. Now, some people go, but John, Buzz Aldrich said it was a mistake not to show the flag planting. Yeah, Buzz Aldrich was just sour because the movie portrayed him to be a little bit of a dick. And it did. I mean, it also showed him to be a hero, but it also showed, but if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. They also portrayed him as being a little bit of a dick, and maybe he was just sour about that. But look, I thought it was a very good movie. It's not going to be in my top 5 films of the year, and there are different things you can criticize First Man for. But if you've seen the movie, I absolutely reject any notion that them not showing this somehow took away from the patriotism of the movie. And I say that as a Canadian. You know, it was a 2-hour circle jerk rah-rah USA fest in all the positive ways. And I had no problem with that whatsoever. To say because they didn't do this is somehow makes the movie automatically unpatriotic, it's just dumb. Dumb. Anyway, that's my thoughts on that. All right, David Rainey writes, which film do you think takes the hardest hit this December? I say Mortal Engines. Looks interesting, but feels like it's never really had buzz around it. I mean, I'm very curious about the thing, because look, Mortal Engines was a pretty popular book series. I never read it, all right? So there's that. I don't know that Mortal Engines is going to take that big of a hit, because I don't know that Mortal Engines was going to be all that big no matter where you put it. If they were releasing Mortal Engines in February, I think it would make more money than it's going to make in December, but I don't know if it would make all that much more money. I'm not sensing a lot of buzz from it either, but it will have a small, hardcore group of fans of the book series that are going to go out to see it no matter what day you put that movie out. So while I think Mortal Engines is probably going to make the least amount out of the high-profile films, Spidey Universe, Mary Poppins, Bumblebee, Aquaman, out of all those, it's probably going to make the least amount of money. But I don't know it's going to take that big of a hit from releasing on the date that it's actually coming out. You see what I'm saying? So it's interesting. I think the one that's going to take the biggest hit is one of the most popular ones. It's the most popular ones that stand to take the biggest hit. And I still believe it's going to be Aquaman. Aquaman is going to make money. Make no mistake. It's going to do fine. It's going to make money. It's going to be profitable. But I think the difference between what it would have made released on another date and what it's going to make on December 21st has the widest gap than any of the other movies. It'll do fine. It's going to make money. It's not going to flop. But I think it's going to take the biggest hit. Luke1234 writes, your thoughts on the movie Pass dog representative? I didn't look. I read the thing. You guys saw about this. Like, a movie pass had a dog customer service. We've heard you've had it rough and blah. Dumb, but nothing. Look, in the pantheon of all the stupid, idiotic things Movie Pass has done, this is one of the most least offensive. I think this is not one of their dumber moves. Is it stupid? Yes. But is it, like, radically stupid? Nah, they were just trying to be cute. It wasn't wise. It wasn't smart. They shouldn't have done it. But listen, when you look at the long laundry list of all the idiotic things that company has done, this is not one of the most egregious ones, to be by a long shot. Let's see. Sebastian writes, AMC A-List is doing well, but the stock still took a hit. Well, yeah, I mean, that's the entertainment industry. I mean, the movie theater industry is not a great theater industry to be in, despite the fact that AMC was actually quite profitable. Their stock price took a hit, but they actually had quite a profitable year. So it's not as simple as just saying one thing, and it's not as simple as going A and B equals C. There's about 56 different variables to look at and all that kind of stuff. I mean, what you're saying is true. There was a stock price hit. AMC A-List is doing well, but also AMC is actually having a pretty profitable year. So, I mean, it's more complex than that and beyond. Like, I'm not a financial expert by any stretch of the imagination, but it is more complex than just that. But yeah, you're right. I'm Upset writes, What's more likely, Taken 4 or Hangover 4? Ooh. Well, neither of them have any real chance, but I don't think you're going to see, after what happened with Taken 3, and then the fact that they tried doing a TV series, and that fell back, I would say it's more likely we get a Hangover 4, but I don't think we're going to get either, to be honest. BMC writes, in my opinion, Infinity War could have benefited from an extra 30 minutes. Oh, I disagree completely. Won't be mad at all at a 3-hour Avengers finale. Nah, no. What Infinity War could have benefited from was cutting some stuff out. And by cutting some stuff out, I don't just mean a scene in the movie. I think it would have started earlier in that. I think it would have been taking 2 or 3 characters out of the movie. I think it could have benefited from, because my big criticism of Infinity War, and I loved Infinity War, you know this, but the big criticism I had about Infinity War was it felt like it was overstuffed and it was way too top heavy. And the Russo brothers did a great job giving it a great sense of pace and everything like that at 2 hours and 29 minutes. I think that was the right runtime for this movie. But I don't think you solve overstuffing a film by stretching the film out. I think that's putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. If your problem is the movie's overstuffed, I think there's a more fundamental issue. I think they probably should have taken some things out of it a little bit, so it didn't feel like it was busting at the seams, which is my one big criticism. And there are 1,000 things I love about Infinity War. The one thing that really stood out to me through the movie was this is a top-heavy movie. It is overstuffed. And I don't think just stretching out the runtime of the movie is an answer to the question any more than slapping a Band-Aid on a bullet wound is an answer to that issue either. It's masking the problem, not solving the problem. So, but again, I mean, it's not like it was that big of a problem. The movie was still magnificent. But yeah, to me, I don't think just adding more time, I don't think that's the answer. I never really think that's the answer. Gio wrote, but that's just me. I'm sure BMC, there are many people who agree with you, and that's cool. I just don't agree. Gio writes, I'm the chief of the cops, but also the best Bed Bath & Beyond manager. I also fought Spidey in a fairy answer. Well, dude, why put in a trivia question if you're just going to say the answer at the end of it, Gio? I mean, once you said also the best manager of Bed Bath & Beyond, it's like, oh, I know that. But you gave the answer at the end. Why put in a trivia question if you could put the answer at the end, Gio? It was a good trivia question, too. It was a good question. The little nerdy birdie writes, wanted to post this yesterday, but I literally had $5. Over under 20%. Bumblebee takes the top spot in its opening weekend. Oh, man, 20%? That's a good line. You know what, little nerdy birdie? That's the perfect over-under line for that. 20%. Because if you said 35%, easy, under. If you had said 10%, I'd say easy, over. 20%. That's some good line setting right there, my friend. That's some, because now now I got to think about it. That's not an easy answer. You know what? I will just crawl to the over. I'll take that there's over, but hesitantly. I'll say there's over a 20% chance that Bumblebee takes the top spot. Now, I believe both Mary Poppins and Aquaman have a better chance of taking the top spot, but 20% is a really good line. That's a really low number. I'll take the over on that. Raphael's Creative Style writes, where did he write? He writes, did you see the Prodigy trailer? The end scared the crap out of me. Also, check out Bird Box at the cast. I have not seen the Prodigy trailer, so I can't comment on it. But thank you, Raphael's Creative Style, for putting on everybody's radar, though. Santez Henderson writes, fully enjoyed Overlord. It wasn't really a Wolfenstein movie like I expected, but my goodness, the movie had some intense scenes and good performances. Oh, yeah, of course. I said I had to choose between seeing The Grinch or Spider's Web. The other one was Overlord. That's the other one I still need to see, but I chose Grinch. So I think I'm going to go out and see a doubleheader of Spider's Web and Overlord tonight. At least that's my plan, fingers crossed. So I'm glad you liked it, Santez. Run Amok Design writes, happy Friday. Who's worse, Movie Pass or AMC HR? AMC HR. AMC HR is the worst. Now, look, here's the thing. I will never work with AMC again, like ever. Number one, because I probably wouldn't want to, because I wouldn't want to go anywhere near that hellmouth. that demonic pack of cockroaches known as the AMC HR department. Many people I still love at AMC. I got a lot of respect for them as a company as a whole. There are people who still work there from my days there that I think are fantastic people, including a lot of people in senior leadership. But I never want to go near that pack of cockroaches that are the AMC HR department again. It's just my opinion that they're a pack of cockroaches, but it is my opinion nonetheless. Bunch of jackals over there. Idiotic, incompetent buffoons, and I would never want to go anywhere near them. So even if I ever did want to work with AMC again and come within 1,000 miles of that pack of cockroaches, the AMC would never work with me again because I so accurately come on here in public and say the AMC HR department is a pack of cockroaches. So I would probably never have a chance to work with them again. They are absolutely the worst. They are the worst. They're immoral, they're unethical, and they're idiotic, and worst of all, they're incompetent. So that's, again, just my opinion. But that is my opinion based on the experiences that I had with that group of idiots over there. So, yeah. So, hey, listen, whenever you hear me say good things about AMC, you know I must really mean it because there's a part of that company that I absolutely detest. Anyway. Trojan of Narnia writes, Last Jedi had a better pilot, but Force Awakens had the better characterization. Agree. I have no idea what we're talking about, Trojan and Narnia. Sorry about that, dude. You got to be a little bit more specific. Kevin Rubio, our friend Kevin Rubio writes, I'm donating to the Super Chat because I want to hear John say Turd Ferguson. Turd Ferguson. It's funny. It's funny. Turd Ferguson. That was, of course, Norm Macdonald doing Burt Reynolds on Saturday Night Live's Celebrity Jeopardy. Guys, if you've never watched, by the way, what Kevin's referring to here, Celebrity Jeopardy on Saturday Night Live, look up Celebrity Jeopardy on Saturday Night Live, particularly the ones with Norm Macdonald as Burt Reynolds. And I can't remember the cast member's name doing Sean Connery. Framish titties for 1,000. That's famous titles. Like, you got to see this guy do Sean Connery. Some of the funniest crap ever. Turd Ferguson. It's funny. Wearing a big cowboy hat. Thanks for that, Kevin. Corey Timmons writes, Hey, John. Love the show. Thank you so much. Watch every day. You're a great man for what you do and the way you make me want to watch the show every day. Just like to say hi and sending love. Well, thank you so much, Corey. That's really nice. You like taking time and energy and supporting the channel financially like that just to say something nice. Thank you, man. I appreciate that very much. And I hope you have a great day too, dude. Jaron Morris writes, and I only got a couple more minutes here, guys. I've gone way over time. Sorry, there's a lot of topics to talk about today. Jaron Morris writes, so Iron Man was the first step to the MCU. Thoughts on Spider-Man being the first step to the MGU, Marvel Gaming Universe? TGE makers of Spider-Man 4 announced it. Thoughts? I haven't heard the announcement myself. So I can't speak to it. And I haven't played the Spider-Man game. So I can't speak to that. Let me see here. Let me just see if I can find a story or a press release. Yeah, I can't find anything on it. I'm sure you're accurate. Look, the notion, though, of creating a shared gaming universe is not new, right? I mean, we've seen that. We've seen Nintendo do that. We've seen the other platforms do that from time to time as well. I think it would be a natural progression. Now, again, I can't speak definitively to it because I haven't read this news or anything like that. But what you're proposing here, Jaron, and what you're saying is happening, it seems like a logical extension. I mean, Marvel has this huge shared cinematic universe. If you're going to be bringing that into the PlayStation games and doing stuff like that, to create a shared universe there only seems to make sense. So I would be all for it. I would have no problem with it. But again, it's hard for me to speak directly to it because I haven't read that news myself and I have not played the game. And I'm not a console gamer. Like, I don't play games on my Xbox or on PlayStation. I play whatever games I play on my PC. So I'm a little bit disconnected from that world. But again, in principle, it sounds fine to me, to be honest. Pixar Fan Fiction writes, I am sad that the new SpongeBob movie is not an adaptation of the new Broadway show that recently closed. I don't give two squirts of piss about SpongeBob myself. I've never watched anything involving SpongeBob. I have no desire to see anything involving SpongeBob. But hey, I'm not poo-pooing on it because I know there are a number of you guys that love SpongeBob. Some of you grew up with him. Some of you just think he's hilarious, and that's awesome. I'm not poo-pooing on that at all. But it's not for me. So I really don't know anything about the new SpongeBob movie, and I don't know anything about the Broadway show, and I really don't care to know anything about it. But that's just me. That doesn't mean you shouldn't care. Not at all. All right. Thean Ho writes, what is favorite food / drink out of the theater? For me, beer is best. You know, a lot of people are surprised because I'm Canadian. I don't drink beer. I don't drink. Pretty much in general, I just don't drink. Once in a blue moon, I'll have like an Angry Orchard hard apple cider. Ooh, edgy. Once in a very long blue moon, I'll have a Smirnoff Ice. That's right, I'm the manliest of all drinkers. And maybe once in a blue moon, I'll have like an Amaretto Sour. John, easy boy, easy. Yeah, once every like 3 or 4 months, I'll have an Amaretto Sour. But I just don't like the taste of alcohol. That's the thing. I've never liked the taste of alcohol, and I really don't like the taste of beer. So I just, generally speaking, I generally don't drink. Doesn't mean you'll never, ever, ever see me without a drink, ever see me without a drink in my hand. You might, but that's going to be very, very, very rare. Because I don't like drink. At the movie theater, I'm a very meat and potatoes, vanilla kind of guy, dude. I like my popcorn and I like my soda. Coke Zero and popcorn. And I never eat popcorn ever. I don't eat popcorn at home. I don't eat popcorn anywhere. But when I'm at a movie theater, I got to go and I got to get my popcorn. And I never even finish 1/3 of the bag, but it doesn't matter. I got to have at least a few handfuls of popcorn and a soda, and that's the only thing that's going to make me happy. So that's my personal habits there. Ariel Sandoval writes, moved to LA recently. My coworker was talking YouTube with a customer yesterday, and he said he worked with you on Weekly Hero. Small world sometimes. Well, I'd be curious to, because there's only a handful of people who work with me on Weekly Hero. And I mean, obviously that's Robert Meyer Burnett. And then I got a couple of guys who work in the studio. So you're right. I remember this one time I was in a Cold Stone. I've told the story once before, but it's one of the funniest things because I run into fans and viewers all the time. Like I run into fans and viewers, it happens frequently, and that's great. I'm always like wowed by it. But the funniest one ever, though, talking about small world, me and Ann, and I think Soul, we were at Cold Stone getting some ice cream. We're standing in line to get some ice cream. And, I don't have my phone here. But the dude in line in front of me, was holding his phone like this. And I thought I heard my voice. And I kind of lean over to look over his shoulder. And sure enough, he's watching an episode of the John Campea show. And so I just kind of giggle for a second. I tap Ann. I say, look at his phone. So Ann looked over and she's like, Ann just rolls her eyes. Oh my God. So I lean kind of over the guy's shoulder a bit and I go, that show's awesome. And the guy turns around and looks at me and turned back and then looked back again, looked at his phone and looked at me. That was hilarious. Yeah, small world. Maddie Hay writes, Toy Story 4 will end with Andy/Bonnie seeing the toys. I don't think so. I've heard other people throw that theory out there, and it makes sense. It's a theory that does hold water, but I really don't think they're going to go that way. I really don't. I do not think they're going to do that. I think they've always regretted that the toys revealed themselves to, what was the kid's name in the first one? Was it Spike or something like that? I can't remember the kid's name. I think the Pixar guys always regretted that they did that. Although it was a hilarious moment in the movie, I don't think they're going to do it. I really don't. Ali Hussein writes, on Weekly Hero, you and Robert talk about Suicide Squad 2 is going to be kind of a reboot or soft reboot. If Warner Brothers DC is not going to reboot the DCEU, I would be dumb to recast with Will Smith and Margot Robbie. But remember, it's not about recasting. It's about, do you do different characters? You know, we're not talking about, do they get somebody else to play Deadshot? Do they get somebody else to play Harley Quinn? That's not the case. That's not the issue, and that's not the topic at hand. It's whether or not they kind of soft reboot it by having a different cast of characters. It's not about recasting who's there. It's about, do they just get different characters? Maybe Deadshot's not in the next movie. Maybe Harley Quinn's not in the next Suicide Squad. It's not about recasting those characters. It's about whether or not they actually have those characters. And that's something they might be looking at. I'm not saying that they are. I'm not even saying it's likely that they are, but I think it's a possibility. All right. Let's see. You know what, guys? There are a lot more questions here than I have time to get to, so we're going to call it today. Let's see. Who was the last question that sent in? It was from Allie. I'll tell you what. From all these questions on down that we don't have time to get to now, don't worry. I'm going to take them. I'm going to put them in the next companion video that will be up tomorrow morning on Saturday. Actually, I think I got 2 companion videos going up tomorrow morning because we're going to have a few questions we got to get around to. So don't worry, guys. Those of you who sent in questions I didn't have time to get to, don't sweat it. We're going to have lots of time to address them on the companion videos. So do not worry. Your question will get answered. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Listen, don't forget, make sure you click subscribe. Become a subscriber to this YouTube channel. Make sure you're following all the stuff we got going on here. By the way, guys, follow me on Twitter, @John Campea. I do a bunch of posting on Twitter. Make sure you're following me there. And listen, if you're somebody who enjoys the John Campea Show and you like following along, you like being a part of this community, do me a favor and consider going over to www.patreon.com/JohnCampea. Get all the information there about what it means to be a Patreon supporter, how being a Patreon supporter keeps these shows on the air, and also the benefits of being a Patreon supporter, and maybe you'll want to become a Patreon supporter too. And by the way, we're going to be starting a new thing for our Patreon people. We are getting Movie Club up and running. We're working out the details right now, but I'm going to fill you guys, those of you who are my Patreon supporters, I'll fill you in on the details more later. All right, guys, that will do it for me for now. Thanks for being here. My name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.